Hey everyone, the one and only here, coming to you live once again, but this time reviewing the secretly refreshed 2019 MacBook Pros. Apple does this a lot. They secretly update their products with little to no fanfare, but let me tell you, this is, at least on paper, Apple's fastest Mac notebook ever. With impressive specs like i9 Intel chips and 8 cores, it's easy to slobber over these new shiny devices. However, as we are well aware with Apple, you'll have to pony up that premium and be called broke boy for the next 8 months in order to afford the higher spec options. Or, I'm not sure, maybe not. Because walking around with one of these will surely make you also feel like a boss, so maybe you'll just have to flex even though you know darn well your pocket's empty. Anyway, externally nothing changed, but there are supposedly new fixes with this new 4th generation butterfly keyboard and a lot of huge improvements under the hood on both the 15-inch and 13-inch touch bar models. So what are we waiting for? Let's dive right into the 15-inch unboxing. Alrighty guys, so this is the unboxing for the new 2019 MacBook Pros that are now arriving at customers' doorsteps. So here we do have my shipping label. I did remove my address just because, well, that's kind of obvious. And this is actually the shipping box that Apple provides. And it's a really nice box because they make it real simple for you. So we have this tab right here to pull apart. That way we get the full experience on YouTube. I mean, you'll get to see how I received it. And let's dive right in. So our MacBook Pro is of course caressed in there with a lot of protection. So let's go ahead and pull that out. Nothing else inside the box, so we'll just toss it to the side. And here we do have our new beautiful space gray 2019 MacBook Pro with the touch bar. So we do have the profile of the device here in the front. This image hasn't changed for several years now. I kind of wish they would change up the retail packaging, but they don't. On the side we have the Apple logo. On the right hand side we have another Apple logo. On the top we see MacBook Pro branding. On the bottom, MacBook Pro branding again. And on the back, we're going to see our serial number information. So this is going to be the 15-inch MacBook Pro, 2.3 8-core Intel Core i9 with 16 megabytes of shared L3 cache, 16 gigabytes of memory, 512 SSD, and then we have the Radeon Pro 560X, which of course all of these can be configured much higher, including your SSD, your graphics card, and even your processor. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop right into this unboxing. Once more, what's making a special appearance is the spatula kind of knife looking thing. By the way, that's not a sound effect, that's actually the actual knife. Alright, well anyway, let's see where we should cut this open from. Alright, safety first, always leave this to the side. And now, this is a big heavy box, by the way. There we go. Ooh, that is looking beautiful. It's cold to the touch. That aluminum chassis is just beautiful. We have a little tab right here to lift it up, and it is quite heavy, but this is the 15-inch, so we're gonna go ahead and set that off to the side. And inside we have our literature packet, and so this is gonna include a lot of your documentation, including stickers, in case you're new to the Mac OS world. So can't forget the stickers. You have that, limited warranty information, and then you have a quick start guide on how to start up your new MacBook Pro. But because we already know how to do all that, we're just gonna set that off to the side. Inside as well, you're gonna find your 87 watt travel power adapter. So let's go ahead and unwrap that. And so this does, here you go, you have the prongs, and this does come undone there in case you go to a different country. That way you can actually include their power adapter. So let's go ahead and put that back and set this off to the side, because inside as well we're going to have our USB-C to USB-C cable, which is used to charge up your device. So this is going to be plugged into the power supply there, and the other end to your MacBook, so that you can sync and charge it. But okay, this isn't what we came here for. We came here for the Mac Daddy of them all, the MacBook Pro. Here it is in all of its space gray glory. It's looking phenomenal. It's looking super sexy. I'm getting way too excited. Let's go ahead and undress her. let's go ahead and open her up. And it does come shipped with this protective little film, this little piece of paper. So we're just going to move that aside, and it's going to start right back up automatically. And there you have it. That was the unboxing for the new 2019 MacBook Pro with the Touch Bar. Alright, so as I mentioned, Apple updated both the Touch Bar versions of their MacBook Pros, that being the 15-inch model and the 13-inch model. But in this video, we'll be taking a look at only the 15-inch model, and in a separate video, we'll look at the 13-inch. On the exterior, you can see that nothing has changed. We still have our non-glowing Apple logo in brushed aluminum, which contrasts against the rest of the chassis with its shiny, lustrous logo. The cold to the touch aluminum chassis, and our keyboard with two impressive speakers flanking the keyboards both to the left and right, and how could we forget our touch bar with Touch ID sensors, and finally the same 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports. But wait, here is actually one of the biggest changes with this new iteration of the MacBook Pro. This sports the newly revised 4th generation butterfly keyboard, and it's the first time Apple acknowledged that they updated the keyboard because of stuck keys or issues where some users experience sticky or repetitive keys. Something about the keys are now made out of an all-new material, and this should quell suspicions once and for all about the faulty keyboards that from the get-go was somewhat unpopular from us tech nerds. Apparently, teardowns have commenced, and iFixit has determined that there are in fact 2 new changes to the keyboard. All Apple told the media and us is, "We made it out of a new material," which is kind of vague, and they at least could have gone in detail, but shout out to iFixit for getting to the bottom of this. So the new keyboards now seem to have a new material underneath the key on the switch cover and a new dome switch that might be stronger and less prone to break. I personally like the keyboard. I love the low travel I get and the responsiveness from bouncing off onto other keys quick, but that's my opinion. The 3rd gen keyboard was definitely clickier and was louder, and now on this one the effect is duller, having a much quieter experience. It looks like, love it or hate it, it's here to stay, so we'll see how long this claim holds up. I'm interested to see if this new 4th generation keyboard will finally do the trick. Additionally, hand in hand with the new 4th gen keyboard, Apple has graciously decided to work on and repair any MacBook with the butterfly keyboard by expanding their keyboard service program. With this, if you have any modern MacBook with the butterfly mechanism and your keyboard starts acting funky, hit that bet real quick and make a trip to the Apple Store, as a turnaround on fixing the keyboards is also supposed to be greatly improved. Good moves by Apple, honestly, if you ask me. On another note, the other huge improvement to the MacBook is internally. Everything else remained the same: speakers, display, battery ports, everything, and I mean everything else is the same. This year we just got a spec update, which is kind of sad as there have been rumors on a brand new redesigned 16-inch MacBook Pro, but it appears we'll have to wait until 2020 or 2021 for that. I'm actually quite content because internally we see some massive gains, and in this video I'll be doing some head-to-head tests with the previous 2018 version of the MacBook Pro. Okay, so there are 2 base configurations you can get for the 15-inch Touch Bar MacBook Pro. There is a $2,400 version and a $2,800 version. Luckily, prices remained consistent and didn't go up. The $2,400 version comes stock, loaded with a 2.6 GHz, 6-core, 9th generation Intel Core i7 processor with turbo boost up to 4.5 GHz, Radeon Pro 555X with 4 GB of GDDR5 memory, 16 gigs of DDR4 memory, and a 256 GB SSD, which I have voiced my opinions on before, saying it's too tiny for a MacBook Pro, but you know Apple. Obviously, you can configure this higher with more SSD, more RAM, and a higher clock chip, but of course, it will mean you might have to take out an equity loan against your home, so it's up to you to make that call. Now remember, if you do want to upgrade, you should do it at the time of order, since no parts inside of the MacBook Pro are supposed to be user upgradable. For the higher price stock MacBook Pro, we have a 2.3 GHz, 8-core, 9th generation Intel Core i9 with turbo boost up to 4.8 GHz, a Radeon Pro 560X graphics card with 4 GB of GDDR5 memory, which is configurable up to a Vega 16 or Vega 20 graphics card, 16 gigs of RAM, configurable up to 32 just like on the $2,400 model, and a better 512 SSD storage. The configuration to these machines is insane. However, the 4TB SSD is a slap in the face and a complete joke. If you want to upgrade to the 4TB model, you'll have to fork over an additional $2,800 just to upgrade that SSD. Just let that sink in for a moment. Today, however, I want this video to be more focused on comparing it to the previous year's model. Last year, I snagged the $2,800 version, as is what I got today for this year's, so it's an equal comparison as these are both the stock configurations, albeit the higher priced stock models. If you want to compare, the 2018 version here in silver comes with a 2.6 GHz 6-core Intel Core i7, turbo boost up to 4.3 GHz, whereas the new 2019 has a 2.3 GHz 8-core 9th gen Intel Core i9 processor, turbo boost up to 4.8 GHz. Both come with the Radeon Pro 560X, both with 16 gigs of RAM, and both with 512 gigabytes of SSD. You guys let me know if you'd like to see the Vega graphics and the highest configurable chip plus 32 gigabytes of RAM go head to head against the 2018 model, as I'll plan a video for that if you guys would like to see that. Here in this video, the main difference will be the Intel i9 with 8 cores versus the Intel i7 with 6 cores. With all the nerdy specs out of the way, let's see how they perform. For my first test, I decided to do a standard Geekbench test and see how they would both perform. In theory, the 8-core MacBook should boast much higher numbers on the multi-core side than the 6-core, and sure enough, we produced the following numbers. On the 2018 version, we get a score of 5,020 on the single-core side and 5,440 on the 2019 single-core side. Similarly, we get a score of 21,540 on the multi-core side for the 2018 model and a whopping 28,875 for the 2019. This is about an 8% increase on single core and a massive 34% increase on the multi-core side based off of just raw numbers, but is a decent indication at the true power of the devices. Not bad if you ask me, especially on the multi-core side, and it makes sense since now we have those 2 additional cores. Moving on, I did a Cinebench test on both. Now because the graphics card is identical in both, I didn't expect to see vastly different numbers, but the difference in core count and a higher i9 may beg to differ. After running the test, I got some rather interesting results. For the CPU side, I got a score of 2,349 and 2,941 on the 2018 and 2019 respectively. So it seems those 8 cores actually do make a difference and allow the new 2019 version to perform much better. Now remember last year with the huge controversy surrounding the i9s and the huge overheating issues? For those who don't know, the chassis of the MacBook was unable to properly cool its i9 processor, thus severely throttling its performance to sometimes even sinking lower than the i7 in terms of base clock speed upon its initial release. However, this was patched with a software update, supposedly. I wanted to test the temperatures on both these computers and test whether one throttles more than the other, but saw rather inconclusive results. It seems the i9 does get marginally hotter, but not anywhere near the previous levels like it once did. Throttling isn't anywhere near as bad as it once was, and it seems the extra core count may be the culprit as to why it's remaining surprisingly consistent on its clock speeds. Lastly, I want to see if the new 2019 was substantially faster in exporting 4K footage on Final Cut Pro, since as a video editor and photo editor myself, I need all the horsepower I can get. I have some preset settings using Compressor to aid in the exportation of all my YouTube videos. I captured a quick 30-second clip with no edits whatsoever and exported it out on both MacBooks to see if the 2019 was faster. These were the results. The 2018 MacBook exported in 1 minute and 16 seconds, whereas the 2019 exported at 4 seconds faster at 1 minute and 12 seconds. When we convert to a percentage, it seems the 2019 is 5.5% faster at exporting, but a small 30-second clip tells us nothing. So now, I did a longer 5-minute clip and did the same thing, no edits, to see which exported quicker. Here, after exporting, we may see a clearer indication of performance. The 2018 exported in 11 minutes and 48 seconds, while the 2019 exported in 11 minutes and 31 seconds, which equates to about a 2.4% increase in performance. At this point, you should start to ask yourself if 2.4% is worth upgrading, but again, this is all with no edits, just raw footage being exported. Lastly, I applied some 3D tiles, added some filters, and also threw in my subscribe animation several times throughout the same 5-minute clip to see if there would be a bigger difference in export times. To my surprise, here were the results. The 2018 exported in 23 minutes and 9 seconds, whereas the 2019 this time was a good bit faster, coming in at 21 minutes and 42 seconds, equating in roughly a 6.6% increase in exporting performance. It is important to consider that while video and photo editing, a better graphics card will yield much better results. Perhaps the reason these numbers are almost within margin of error is because they have the same graphics card. As can be seen, the i9 and 8 cores do make a difference, but a really small one at that.
In conclusion, as you can see, the 8-core i9 performs better than the 2018 version, but at stock configurations, is it worth to justify ditching your computer that isn't even a year old for the new 2019 version? These computers creep eerily close to $3,000 territory. Do you know what I could do with $3,000? That's a round-trip plane ticket to Morocco, South Korea, and Mexico. $3,000 gets you 300 months of Apple Music, my guy. 300. 3,000 is the equivalent of 600 2-for-5 deals at McDonald's. That's 1,200 burgers, bro. So when you put that in this respect, is a smallish increase in performance really worth it? As stated, the chassis and design is unchanged. You still have your large, gorgeous glass trackpad, still have your excellent 500-nit display, still have your touch bar, which some would call a total gimmick, and Touch ID. Same speakers, same ports, and same battery. If it were up to me, if I were to upgrade from any of the stock configurations of the 2018 MacBook Pro, the only way I'd upgrade is to go ahead and sell my soul to Apple and bump all my configurations. I'm talking the highest end processor that's turbo boosted up to 5.0 GHz, Vega 20 graphics, 32 gigs of RAM, and f it, might as well get the 1TB SSD since I'm already essentially forcing myself into debt. Why not? Or another recommendation is wait for the next year's update. I'm sure, unless you're doing 3D rendering or highly advanced coding or multicam video edits, you don't need this upgrade, dude. Your 2018 MacBook is gonna do just fine. My verdict, I only recommend people to upgrade from the 2018 model if they use Final Cut for video editing, Logic Pro for creating dank music, Photoshop or coding to squeeze out the best performance possible. But again, an even better upgrade would be to configure it with the best chipset and best graphics card if you have the money for it. Maybe anything from the 2016 MacBook Pros or older is a good idea, but even the 2017 MacBook Pro is debatable to upgrade. In classic Apple fashion, this is your generic spec upgrade with a quote fix to their keyboard so everyone can shut the fuck up and buy MacBook Pros again. It'll only take up time now to see if those keyboards have actually been fixed. I'm not sure. Anyway, let me know what you think. Thank you guys for stopping by for a quick hands-on look at the new 2019 MacBook Pro. Like I mentioned earlier, I may bite the bullet and just get a highly configured MacBook Pro and compare that one to the 2018 base $2,799 configuration. If you want to see that or more in-detailed comparisons like this, definitely smash that like button and hit the subscribe button with bells so you never miss one of my videos. And with all that being said, I'm clocking out of this one, guys. Peace.